Hello and welcome back to another KCC video. I'm Rob and today we'll be jumping into some ProRevenge. Our first story today comes to us from Swiss Girl 16, how my ex cheated on me in the worst possible time, how I got revenge, and how he tried to sue me over it. Let's jump right in. Now grab some popcorn and make yourself comfortable, for this is gonna be long, very long, and messy, with no one ending up innocent. This all started about a little more than 3 years ago in winter when I, female at that point 24, met my ex, male then 23, in therapy. We were both patients, we soon became friends, and after a short time, he told me he liked me and wanted to be more than friends. I said no, but that I'd really wish we could still remain friends. Yep, the friend zone, it sucks. I knew that, so I didn't expect it to happen. But he was quite cool about it and we stayed friends and became better friends with time. We spent a lot of time together and were there when the other needed us. Want an example? I wasn't feeling well one day and it happened to be his birthday. His solution? He came over. It's not as if we were neighbors. He had to take a bus and 2 different trains with cake he got on his way from an amazing bakery everyone loves around here to spend time with me and make me feel better. Fast forward some months, it's autumn now, or fall for the Americans. One weekend when he stayed at my place, we slept together, and from then on out, we had some kind of friends with benefits arrangement, although I made it quite clear from the beginning that even though we were not a couple, I don't share, so as long as we were sleeping together, I didn't want him having something with someone else. He was okay with it, and we agreed if either of us met someone else we were interested in, we'd talk so we could end our arrangement first. So far, so good. Oh yes, I know that a lot of you are just shaking your heads right now, but for quite some time everything went well. It was an amazing friendship and we of course enjoyed the benefits. People knew about us and our arrangement, and most considered us more like a couple than friends with benefits. We both met some friends of the other one. I met his mom, he met my brother. We were in contact every day, either texting or talking on the phone, and saw each other quite often. So for the things coming soon and to understand my reactions, you'll need some background about me. The reason I was in therapy was that I'd suffered from a severe depression with suicidal tendencies. Only way to get out of it was a hell of a lot of therapy and medication. I had to stay at months, not just weeks, and had a lot of different ambulatory therapies. This caused me to lose my jobs and I had to terminate my studies. In the end, I decided to reorientate myself and get an apprenticeship in an entirely different field, which suited me more. The job search was quite difficult because in that field there aren't many offers, but a lot of people applying, and I didn't have any luck. I was growing quite frustrated with the rejections, mostly hearing that I was quite talented, but I wasn't a fit for the team or being the second choice. It was now early summer and I got another rejection. This one was especially hard for me because I got my hopes up after some trial days, since I thought I got along quite well with the team and I really wanted this job, since I saw that the boss was a stern but excellent instructor. Of course, I told him about it and he just said, "That sucks. I get off work at this time. Want to come over and get drunk?" You bet I did. That was the first time I was drunk, not just tipsy. I ended up drunk crying, vomiting all over his place, the whole package. My self-esteem was really low that night. I felt like I just sucked, wasn't ever going to be good enough, and I'd never fit in anywhere, not just job related. I told him those things and also some things about our relationship. I believe something along the lines of how much it sucked that we weren't in love. He was really sweet and told me how amazing I am, that he was glad we had met and that he would never regret that. How he'd always be there for me, that even if I wasn't their choice, I would always be his, and so on. When we had sex later that night, it was different from the other times. It felt special. And, important detail, though I was on birth control, we always used condoms, but not that night. That was on a Tuesday or Wednesday. The same week on Friday, he had plans with a friend. I knew about it, and though I've never met her, I knew about her. Never had a problem with it since I'm not the jealous type and I used to trust my partners, so everything's fine, right? Since I forgot, I called him that night to chat a little. No problem, we just agreed to talk the next morning. When I called him Saturday morning, she was still at his place and something felt off. When she talked to him from the background, they sounded just like a couple. Also, he didn't have a sofa or some extra mattress, so I knew she slept in his bed, which didn't have to mean anything since I slept at his place back when we were just friends and he didn't try anything, though a week later we became friends with benefits. But it bothered me because I thought it should occur to him I might have a problem with that. But I decided to trust him and didn't say anything. We decided to do something together on Sunday, and he'd call on Sunday morning to make plans. That whole day I had a weird feeling, but I told myself, trust him, he has an easy way out if he wants her, he'll value our agreement. In the evening, he didn't answer my texts. I knew he slept with her, but I decided to give him the benefit of the doubt. The way he said hi when he called me the next morning confirmed my suspicions. I didn't say anything because I wanted to give him the chance to tell me himself. He did. He didn't say he was sorry. He'd made a mistake and was sorry to have maybe hurt me. He just informed me he'd slept with her, not during the night, but sometime during the day on Saturday. He even told me he considered valuing our agreement because it might hurt me before they had sex, but decided against it. That it was not being caught up in the moment, but a conscious decision. He said he was sorry about breaking our agreement, not about hurting me, mind me, but he'd like to pursue a probable relationship with her because she might be the woman of his dreams. I cried, asked him some questions trying to understand why, and at some point just hung up. I had a complete meltdown that day. Together with not having a job and not being able to find one, this was too much for me at this time. I decided life wasn't worth living anymore, so some days later I wrote some letters, to him an email, and took some pills. He called an ambulance. I spent a night at the hospital and was institutionalized, but let go after a few days. We met once shortly after I got out. I asked him to see if anything could be mended between us. Needless to say, it was useless. We were civil, but couldn't agree on anything. He thought that because he called me the ambulance, we were somehow even. That summer was crap, obviously. Near the end of it, I again spent some days in a clinic voluntarily, but it got better afterwards. In that last clinic stay, I befriended a girl. When we met, I sometimes ranted about my ex. Her reaction mostly was something along the lines, you know, we could just send my guy to rough him up. They're on my side, therefore yours. No way I was gonna say yes to that, but it still bothered me that it was just me that felt like crap about the whole thing. So we came up with a plan. Why not pretend I was pregnant just to mess with him? We came up with a whole story about me not telling anyone because I didn't want my family to know and that I was going to give it up for adoption. That it was a high-risk pregnancy because of the pills I took and all the stress. That I didn't want to tell him, but she felt he had a right to know and so on. And in the end, I'd lose the child because of the stress. To clarify, the idea was mine. She had just pushed me to go through with it. We tried to contact him through Insta with fake profile, then she tried it with her real one. No reaction. He probably didn't see. That was sometime in autumn. I likely would have let it go at this point, but when we celebrated New Year's Eve together, we happened to talk about it and decided to try one last time. I gave her his email and she wrote him about how she'd gotten his email address from my phone when I wasn't looking, and that he should know I was pregnant because it was his, and that I was a mess, and she gave him her number. About an hour or two later, he called her. Of course, I listened in on the conversation and had a hard time staying quiet. He was shocked and concerned. She told him a lot about how bad my situation was, about the adoption plans and so on. I would have believed her if I didn't know the truth. I was quite happy about having ruined his New Year's Eve and thought I'd hear from him pretty soon. Nope. The next day, I only get some motivational Happy New Year message from his mom. Then nothing. After some days, he finally texted me. He spent some days in a kind of clinic for crisis, one where you don't have to wait to get in, not much therapy, and you could still work if you wanted to digest the news. I first said I didn't want any contact, but he was having none of it. He of course wanted to know what was going on and wanted to be involved. Well, he got some lengthy texts from me, how he cheated on me and should just go to her if he wanted a child, that he was never going to meet the child, that it deserved a sane father and an intact family with no cheating parent as a bad influence, how he hurt me and some things that I knew would hurt him. He insisted to be involved and wanted the best for the baby, and so on. When he tried to call, I declined. Over the course of a month, we texted, talked on the phone 2 or 3 times, and met once. always with some days of radio silence in between. 1 or 2 times my friend would text or call him to get him to write again. When we phoned, I always cried a lot, since we mostly talked about the betrayal and what had happened between us. Since I didn't have to lie there, I steered it in that direction. He finally apologized for hurting me, admitting it was wrong and not at all fair to me because he wanted to be involved and decide what happens with the presumed child. It was more or less always him wanting to be involved and me telling him no, how the child deserved better, how he hurt me, also that he couldn't have both me and his new girl in his life. Sometimes I felt angry because of what had happened in the summer before, or about some arrogant message from him, often sad and hurt, sometimes happy because I finally was getting my revenge, sometimes guilty because he was struggling and trying to do the right thing, but mostly guilty because there are women out there who are having high-risk pregnancies, losing children or other things about motherhood. That was why, after a month, instead of going through with the original plan of losing the baby, I just told him that I lied. I got an angry call and some angry messages, which I frankly deserved after the stunt I just pulled on him. I was a bad person that was going to hell, and the worst and most evil human ever. He'd love to beat my teeth out, I'd never find love, and his last message was a reference to my suicide note. His mother wrote me she hoped I survived my evilness. That was it, or so I thought. About a week later, I got a call from a police officer that I had to go to the station to make a statement. Yes, he definitely was angry with me. I had no idea what his approach was. Lying and pretending isn't illegal. I didn't ask for money, and around here, it isn't as easy to sue someone as in the States. My legal cost assurance just told me they couldn't do much at this point. I should just go, listen what I was accused of, and give my statement, so I did. The accusation was false pretenses, which isn't something judicial, and coercion, which by very strict interpretation of a part of the legal definition given to me, would be fitting for every little lie someone told. Well, I gave them my side of the story, without lying or trying to hide anything. The police officer said he had no idea if this would go forward, and that he was interested himself what a judge would decide. And he told me not to expect anything soon, since this wasn't at all important and would be the last thing on some judge's to-do list. A month later, I got a text from my ex that he didn't want any more drama and asked me to leave him and his loved ones alone. Apparently, his complaint of an offense was declined. I got the letter some days after. I was happy to comply. Whoa, OP, you made it abundantly clear to this guy that you didn't want a relationship. I mean, if he had gotten together with this other woman and was still with you at the same time, then I could kind of understand where you were coming from, but honestly, you weren't in a relationship, you had an agreement, and he didn't sleep with you again after. After reading this story though, one thing that really comes to mind, OP, is that I really hope you stay in therapy. I think you need it. Do me a quick favor, have a look down below the video. If that subscribe button's still red, it means you're not actually subscribed to the KCC channel. Please hit that subscribe button for more daily Reddit stories. Our second story today comes to us from FlightGeek24. Don't cheat on your graduation lifeline. Let's jump right in. So I, 19 male, and my now ex-girlfriend, 18 female, have been together for more than a year. We were in the same class during middle school and high school now. A 2-year friendship eventually evolved into a relationship, y'all know how it is. We were happily together, at least so I thought, since December 2019. I thought everything was great between us the whole time, although recently, about March, I noticed her becoming very distant and barely writing first, dry texting, etc. I asked her multiple times if everything is okay and gave her some space, but it continued for the next few months. I was naturally very upset, as I've been through heckin' back together with her when she was going through depression and a really hard time at the end of 2020. It suddenly felt like all this time was wasted and worth nothing. I, as a naive high schooler, truly believed that she was the one. It was serious after all. We matched perfectly together. We spent about 3 full months crying together at night when she was going through a rough time. We had similar plans for the future, similar interests, and it seemed we were meant for each other. My girlfriend, let's call her Caroline, was studying to become a lawyer, so she was mostly into humanities subjects. I, on the other hand, am studying biochem for medical school. I apologize if this is all confusing and different, we live in Europe. She was required to attend at least one science subject to graduate: physics, biology, chemistry, psychology. She always hated these subjects and just took them because they were necessary to graduate. She ended up picking chemistry, as I was a natural and tutored 9 and 10 graders in chemistry in my free time, and I always helped her with her assignments, etc. It started as helping her before exams and assignments so she could get a good pass grade, and after her rough time, warped into me writing half of the assignments for her. In February, she started to do everything with me again, though we had online the whole time. Anyways, enough backstory. After noticing Caroline started to get distant and she never properly answered my questions regarding her behavior, I wanted to see how far it would go. For 1 week, I didn't invite her or call her or text her first. In a total of 1 week, she called me 3 times, twice to ask me about her assignment, and once telling me how she felt insecure and bad. I'm not a dickhead. I helped her out with her school stuff and comforted her when she felt down. Me being the naive, love is perfect lovebird I am, chalked it up to her feeling depressed again, but feeling embarrassed about it. I continued helping and comforting for the next month until nothing changed and she never opened up. I was honestly doubting everything by then. Is it me? What am I doing wrong? Etc. I tried everything I could. Eventually, I asked her friends if something happened, but they said she was the same as always towards them. I knew something was up, but I didn't know what it was yet. One day when she came over to my place, it was only the second time she did that in March. Usually she came at least twice a week. We were sitting in my room and talking while she was trying out Valorant. After she went to my kitchen to make herself something, I hear a notification from her phone. I'm usually not a snooper, but I had a quick look at her screen that lit up. I wouldn't be able to read the message or who it was anyway. It was a Discord notification. I was very surprised. I knew for a fact she didn't have it a month ago. Plus, she only plays Minecraft once in a while. She never uses Discord or anything. So the next morning I did some snooping, and sure enough, I found a whole other Instagram account of hers where she branded herself to be an aesthetic gamer girl. Not that there is anything wrong with that. She had never told me anything about this. I couldn't find any of her friends following her on that account either. Sure enough, she had her Discord username in her bio. Curious, and to be honest, butthole me decided it would be a good idea to create a throwaway account and try to text her to see what she was all about. Before you complain to me, I know I was a butthole here. After texting her on my new account, we talked for a bit until she became flirty. We played a few Bed Wars games together, once again on a throwaway account I bought for $1, haha, and kinda broke down and started questioning my sanity. I had been with her all this time, and through so much crap, I couldn't believe she would do this to me. After the sadness came the anger. I wanted to know how far she took it. I found it hard to believe that she would just casually flirt with guys like this. After setting up my first recon mission plan, I found out more about her until I found out about her supposed boyfriend. At that point, I had a huge emotional breakdown, and I felt I've wasted so much time helping someone who would betray me like this. From her stories, I would later find out they were sleeping with each other for a whole month by now, about when her behavior started to change. At this point, I started hatching my revenge plan. I know I would not let her off the hook this easy. I spent 2 weeks pulling all-nighters, making sure I had all my work done till the end of the year, until graduation. I spent all my remaining time creating fake chemistry textbook pages, so I could make my ProRevenge more believable. All of the information was wrong. I knew I had to give her a taste of her own medicine, betray her like she had me. For the remaining 2 months of the school year, I fed her all this fake information and made sure she got all of her assignments wrong. I knew she wouldn't be able to tell anyone she was copying off me, as our high school had a very strict rule for plagiarism. As much as 3 small cheating attempts on small exams could get you expelled. So after letting the pot stew for those 2 painful, awful months, I let the crap hit the fan. As our teacher had to handle an outrageous amount of classes, she always checked our assignments late, often by 2 or 3 months all at once. I knew I could use this fact to my advantage. After she submitted her final assignments that were worth a huge percentage of our final graduation grade, I told her I knew about her shenanigans had still been ongoing for 3 entire months by now. I told her how she hurt me and how it will come back to haunt her. I made sure of that. She mostly brushed me off and acted as if I were the villain, as I couldn't just leave her, and that she was only friends with that guy. Although I told her something was going to happen, I never told her what it would be. Trust me, she never saw it coming. 1 week later, the end of the year results rolled around. When we received our final grades, I was over the moon as I passed with flying colors. On the other hand, her not so much. Due to her final assignments and all quarter 4 work equaling to an F, she called me crying and asked for help. She told me she wouldn't be able to graduate if she wouldn't receive at least a passing grade for this year. She told me our teacher gave her a final chance after telling her how disappointed she was. Caroline has 2 more months at school with extra one-on-one online lessons with our saint of a teacher. Honestly, props go out to her. To be honest, I felt really bad for her and her situation, knowing very well if she didn't work her butt off in these 2 months in a subject she hated, she would have to repeat the last year without someone constantly helping her with her chem. That compassion quickly went away, and I told her I would help her, but only if she apologized and paid me my regular tutoring fees. Carolyn went full on ballistic after that and screamed at me. How could I do this to her? I hung up and she called me a few seconds after, apologizing and agreeing to pay me for my help. She now has 2 months of intense memorizing with her ex if she wants to graduate. Well, I guess you could say that their relationship just didn't have the right chemistry. They didn't have enough base for it to be stable. There was a catalyst though, and he did get quite the reaction out of her. Okay, even I'm cringing at those. Check out the OPs in the description down below. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye-bye.